What's good, everyone? It's Nigel here, Trinidad Empowerment Network. So, Trinidad is valued at about 30 billion United States dollars. 30 billion USD, United States dollars, not Trinidad dollars, about 30 billion. So they estimate between 25 and 30 billion at any one time, but let's go at the higher end, about 30 billion, with a population of 1.4 million people. So why are you struggling? Why? Because our leaders are selling off your future and we're letting them. So with an election coming up, an election on the horizon, the 28th of April, and people are getting ready to vote in Trinidad, here's a problem. Too many people in Trinidad are voting based on race instead of policies. I say that again. Too many people in Trinidad and Tobago are voting based on race instead of policies. And while we're there fighting down each other, shouting at each other on social media, slinging insults left, right, and center, the politicians and the foreign corporations, foreign investors who come into Trinidad are getting rich, whilst you are left with nothing. These foreign investors are getting rich. They're watching us fight. The politicians, they know full well what's going on, with a GDP of between 25 and 30 billion USD. That should mean every man, woman, and child in Trinidad should have 21,000 or 21,500 US dollars in their pocket. Every man, woman, and child yearly, with a GDP of what we have. But yet you are yearly left with nothing. Trinidad, unfortunately, relies heavily or almost entirely on oil and gas. We have a very undiverse economy. We do not manufacture. We do not export much. And our economy, like I said, isn't diverse in any way, shape, or form. And when I say, and you may hear politicians say this, we have an undiverse economy, like I've already just alluded to, we rely heavily on oil and gas. And that in itself has almost become a curse. Now, this dates back to a saying many, many years ago that started in Holland. The Dutch started this, in that they found that they had a lot of natural resources. Just like Guyana has, just like Nigeria has, and for the most part, just like Trinidad have. But the curse of having these natural resources doesn't translate over to the people in those countries. You look at how poor Guyana is, you look at certain parts of Nigeria, how poor they are, and you look at Trinidad and Tobago, our country, how poor Trinidad is. Yet, it has a GDP of 30 billion. 30 billion. I keep reiterating that because it's frustrating to me that some people don't even know how rich our country actually is in terms of our GDP. 30 billion. The money is constantly being siphoned away from you. It's been taken out of the country by these giant companies who come in to invest, and the money is taken away. So what happens is politicians would have, have someone showing interest. A company like Shell would show interest in the Caribbean, would show interest in Trinidad and Tobago, would show interest in Guyana because they have a lot of oil, because we have a lot of oil. They would come in, they would speak to the policymakers, normally the politicians, to make an arrangement to extract the natural resources out of the country. Now, this is all dependent on who we have in place to talk to these people who have found the oil. A good example would be Guyana. ExxonMobil found the oil in Guyana. I believe it's an American-based company who found the oil in Guyana. Now, they found the oil. They go to the Guyanese president and say, we found, or the Guyanese prime minister, the policymakers, and say, we found oil in your water. We'd like to extract it. We have to do a deal. Or let's do a deal, right? It's now on that government to work out a deal with these foreign investors. And the reason we go to these foreign investors is because we haven't got companies like Shell or huge oil giant companies, refineries in our own country. So we have to go abroad to get these people in to extract the resources from our country and hope that they do us a fair deal. The problem is this isn't happening. We're not getting a fair deal. We're not getting a fair shake. So they come in, they speak to our politicians, and remember, you have to be an expert. You have to have experts in the field of oil and gas. Financial expert, technical expert, people who know what they're talking about, and people the government trust as well, who are speaking to the likes of Shell and ExxonMobil and whoever, BP, British Petroleum, and whoever decides that they're going to take the contract to extract the natural resources from the country, right? We have to have our own experts who know what they're talking about to create whatever contract we need to create that's favorable to us in the Caribbean. So now the government have to find these people who are experts in that field. You can't just use some local politicians or some idiot to go and, sign up or draw up an oil contract with a company like Shell. You're talking billions of dollars here, billions of dollars here, US dollars. So the government needs to find experts from all sectors, financial experts, technical experts, science experts, all of these guys, to go and speak to whoever they've given this contract to extract the oil or the gas from our country. And if we're sending idiots, people who don't know what they're talking about, to speak to the likes of BP, Shell, ExxonMobil, and these high-end multi-billion corporate companies, they are likely to give us the worst deal ever. Secondly, they're more than likely, the government have to trust the people that they are putting in place to negotiate these deals with these larger companies. If you don't trust the people you're putting to go and negotiate these deals, who's to say they're just going to write them up a nice little check? Here's $1 million, keep quiet. We have found X amount of oil or X amount of gas in Trinidad waters or Guyanese waters, right? We have found X amount. They're probably not even going to tell them how much they've found. They probably don't, because they're not experts. If you're not an expert, you wouldn't understand the amount of oil or gas these companies have found, right? So you're more likely to be easily corrupted, or if they pay you off, for example, say, here's $1 million, keep quiet, don't say anything, right? So this is the situation we're dealing with. We have natural resources. Guyana has a lot of natural resources. Venezuela has a lot of natural resources. Nigeria has a lot of natural resources. But why are these countries poor? You think they'd be rich? They'd be rich countries. They should be. But it's the people in charge, the policymakers, are not doing good enough deals that allow our country to prosper. So if Shell comes in or BP comes in, extracts our natural resources, which is what they want, they're there to make money, we have to have a deal or a contract that means that a lot of that money is being plowed back into our economy. I always said we need to, in some way, be a lot more open and transparent with the companies that we have coming into the country to extract our natural resources. If government isn't open and transparent, doesn't show the people exactly what's going on, there's no transparency. So these guys almost come in secretly, they take what they have to take, and the rest, what's left over, trickles down to the people who are waiting at the bottom to catch some of what's left over. And you don't know anything about what's going on. You don't know how much oil they've found. You don't know how much money they've made. You don't know what's been extracted because there's no openness, there's no transparency coming from the government. And this is the problem. So we're stuck in a cycle of voting on race. I'm going to vote for this one because he looks like me, and I feel he's going to do a lot more for me because he looks like me, and blah, blah, blah. It means nothing. It means nothing. It doesn't matter who comes into power, whether it be the Kamala for the UNC or Stuart Young stays as the prime minister. Unless we hold them to account, you're being lied to. It doesn't matter what race they are. They're not going to do anything for you. It doesn't matter who they are, because if it makes you feel better that someone that looks like you is in power, then great. Just say that. It makes you feel better inside in your heart or whatever it is. Then that's great. But at the end of the day, is that going to make any difference to Trinidad, to your pocket? Is that going to put money in your pocket? Who becomes prime minister? Do you think that Kamala, as the leader of the UNC, if she becomes prime minister, that means that you're going to be better off financially? Do you think that Stuart Young, if he remains as prime minister, because he is prime minister as a PNM voter, you're going to be better off financially? Half the people I see in my comments when I make these videos haven't got a clue about the policies either of these parties have in place anyway. They don't have a clue about the policies. It's astonishing. Everything goes back to I'm voting for them because it's race-based voting. And we will never win. This is why they keep winning whilst we're fighting each other, Indians versus Africans, and this is all it is. We're infighting. We're not Trinidadians. It's them versus us. And whilst we're fighting, the thief is in the back, walking away with all of the cash, and we're shooting and killing each other, and the murder rate is going up. And the prime minister is talking about state of emergency and blah, blah, blah. It's all nonsense. And this idea that when the UNC was in charge, things were better, there is no facts backing any of that. There was just as much corruption when the UNC was in charge in 2010 to 2015 as there is now. The definition of madness is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. This is what we keep doing in Trinidad. This is why we cannot get anywhere. In the Caribbean, we have natural resources. We need transparency. This is what we need from government. We need to create a movement big enough to hold these people to account because they're pulling the wool over your eye. They are blinding you. You're fighting down each other and they're walking away with your cash. You need to know whoever comes in to buy Petrotrin, whatever foreign company comes in to buy Petrotrin, has to be open and transparent with the people. This is what you have to demand. So if they decide to come in and buy Petrotrin, and they decide to bring in their own workers, and yes, I do appreciate that you need to bring in experts from their field, but if they come in, they get the contract, they bring in their own workers to work the oil field, how does that benefit you in Trinidad? How does that benefit the workers in Trinidad? It doesn't, and this is what's likely to happen. There is no transparency. So if a foreign company comes in, yes, they need to make money. They will want to make money, of course. But at least 50, 60% of the money they make needs to be put back into our economy. It needs to be put back into our economy. The money needs to go into your pocket directly. If I was prime minister, I would say a lot of that money needs to go directly to the people. This is how much you're getting. You'll get, say, for example, you're getting 20,000 and you're going to be taxed on that 20,000. Every individual gets $20,000 US dollars and you're taxed on it. The tax from that, whatever it be, 20% tax goes into a treasury fund. And this is how we do. This is just my idea of what we do. I'm not saying this is what they should do, but this is because it's our resources. This is what they do in Norway. This is why countries like Norway are so rich. They keep the resources. They have good policies, people in charge. That means that the natural resources that you have in your country doesn't leave your country by some foreign investor and you never see it again. We need to cut down on this corruption stuff in Trinidad. This is what's killing us. This is what's killing. I'm telling you, no race-based voting is going to fix anything for you. This idea that I'm going to vote for this one and that they're going to make my life better. I guarantee you, in a year time, if you vote for UNC or you vote for PNM, you'll be saying the same thing. If the UNC comes in a year from now, 2 years from now, you'll be sat on your ass, catching your ass like normal. Nothing is going to change. And here you are, advocate, I'm going to vote this one. Look at their policies. Get something together. Get a movement going. Get enough people collectively that we could hold these people accountable and say, right, we've got a foreign investor coming in. How much? What's the money? How much are we making here? How many billions are we making here? Is that a good deal? And where's the money going to? We have a system in Trinidad, a capitalist system in Trinidad, where the rich get richer and the poor is at the bottom waiting for some money to trickle down. It's a capitalist system that doesn't work. It doesn't work. We need to do better. And listen, I find this really frustrating. You probably could tell. I get a bit animated about this because I could see through it. I could see what's going on. It's clear. It's clear to me. And they're blinding us with the nonsense that goes on. The politician knows full well what goes on. If you vote on race, then they don't have to do anything to get your vote. You're going to vote for us anyway. Indian vote for Indian, black vote for black, and that's it. We don't have to work for your vote. We don't have to work for it because you're going to vote for us anyway. We need transparency. We need openness from government. We need people to be held accountable for their actions in Trinidad. We need to know what's going on. And if we don't have enough people, the only way we can hold them to account, listen to me, the only way we can is if we could have enough people under the same umbrella, singing from the same hymn sheet, saying the same things, saying enough is enough. Enough is enough. Nothing's going to change if we don't stand up and say enough is enough. We need to diversify our economy. We cannot keep relying on oil and gas. Oil and gas is not... When the oil and gas runs out, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? Because most of the world is going towards renewable energy, if you haven't noticed. Most of the world is going towards windmill and satellites dish on their roof. Renewable energy is the future. It is the future. And we haven't done anything in Trinidad to do with renewable energy. And we're in the prime position for it. We've got a lot of sun. We've got a lot of wind for wind turbines. What have we done in Trinidad to prepare for this renewable energy that's coming? Nothing. We need to hold these people to account. This is frustrating for me. Stop this race-based voting nonsense. It's not getting us anywhere. We're not going to get anywhere doing this, like voting for this one, because they're not going to fix your problem. I'm telling you, a year from now, 2 years from now, 4 years from now, whoever's in power, you'll be saying the same thing. You'll be still frustrated and angry with yourself. Oh, nothing's changed. But you're going to keep voting for this one because it makes you feel good inside because someone that looks like you is in power now. What the hell does that achieve? If I go and vote the PNM, Stuart Young don't look like me. I'm not, I'm going to vote for him. Listen, we need to do better, guys. We need to do better. I'm getting frustrated with this. And listen, I'm going to have a load of people in the comments field talking nonsense about you don't know this and blah, 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 blah. I don't care. I know what I'm talking about here. I've worked in the UK in the criminal justice system for 20 years. I understand. State of emergency is not going to fix our situation in Trinidad. No state of emergency is going to fix it. A state of emergency is a temporary fix. It's something that was passed on from slavery times anyway. A state of emergency. Look at what a state of emergency is, what the slave catchers used to do when the slave rebelled. So we've just used it and adapted it and hope that it worked. It never worked because the slave always rebelled again and again and again. This is not going to fix anything. It just looks good. It might cut crime a bit here or there, but as soon as it goes away, crime is escalated again because we're not investing in the people in Trinidad. People are committing crime because you're not invested in the people in Trinidad. This is a problem. We need to do better. Listen, guys, like, subscribe. I feel like I've shouted and ranted for long enough now. Like, subscribe. I'm going to do a deep dive into something else in my next video. But I believe the change starts here. Pass this video to whoever you need to pass it on to. Share it, like, subscribe, pass it on to Stuart Young, pass it on to Kamla. They're lying to you, they're robbing you dry. The rich are getting richer. This capitalist system we live in Trinidad, you have the wealth and you have the poor. The rich are getting richer. They're taking you for a joke. And whilst you're getting poorer, killing each other and fighting each other for pennies and crumbs at the bottom. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Much love, God bless, take care. Peace.
So now that I got my time, y'all niggas gon' let me talk. I'm young, but I seen a lot. At 16, I watched the fans hit the spot and run.